Hey guys, let's have a chat. Hey everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to my channel. And I know I told you guys last week that I would be uploading a video on Friday. That did not happen. It was a rough week. It has been a rough month and a half-ish. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But it's been a little bit rough. But I am back today because I want to talk to you guys about some of the changes I want to make to my reading this year. It's not necessarily a change to my channel, although it will affect my channel because this is about what I read. So there's going to be slight changes on here. But I want to talk about some of the convictions I've been feeling about what I'm reading and some things I'm going to change to kind of help my mental health a little bit. Before I do that, though, I'm super excited and I want to share something with you guys. So I'm going to insert a little clip here. So this is totally not related to this video at all, but I'm excited about it and I have to share it with you anyway, so you're coming along. Okay guys, I'm showing you the location of my future library, which I'm very excited about. So I got started on buying some furniture for it, but I'm definitely not finished. So the walls right now are this ugly brown, and I've got just a random collection of things hanging on the wall, but this is not how it's going to stay. So yes, I have a titty light, and unfortunately it's going to stay there because, you know, I can't afford to change everything. My friend referred to these as titty lights, and now I can see it as nothing else. But anyway, eventually my wall is going to be blue. I'm buying the paint next month, actually. I'm going to do the wood. The wood trim is going to be white because the ceiling's already white. And then the wall is going to be a similar shade of blue to the curtains. I don't know if it's going to be a shade darker or a shade lighter, but it's going to be the similar family. I got my rug and I got my chairs, and I have a end table that's going to be a black end table that matches like the legs of the chair. Coming from Amazon, I think today or tomorrow. And then eventually I'm going to have my bookshelves lined up against this wall here. So this is the future location of my library. And I may get like one of those little spinny bookshelves for here. I don't know. But yeah, this is the future location of my library. So yay. So that's what I've been doing all week. I'm so excited. I'm sitting in my future library. I'm going to probably change out this stuff to put like, I don't know, book-related artwork or something. But I'm excited. And I have my little patio door so I can have light and read my book and look at the birds and the bird feeder. I don't know. I'm so excited. Anyway, that's not what you're here for. We're here to talk about some changes I want to make to my reading. So yes, I have decided to make some changes to the way I'm reading. And it's not necessarily that I'm changing all of the types of books I'm reading, but I'm feeling very convicted for my mental health and for my sanity to change how I'm approaching when I read. So let me explain all of this first of all. So last year I went on this huge mafia romance kick where I was reading mafia romance for days. I think pretty much every monthly wrap up was like a long list of mafia, and that was pretty much all I read. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that because I love the mafia trope. But I started to notice that as time went on, the books I was reading became more and more dark. I got into dark romance because I like things that are a little bit grittier and more emotional. And as that went on, the books just kept getting like more and more and more and more dark to the point where it was actually starting to affect my mental health a little bit. And the reason why this is an issue is because I kind of let some of my, what I would consider triggers for me, kind of go out the window in favor of reading these books that were like really popular or talked about a lot. And I don't know, I'm going to explain it to you. So as a pretty straight-laced white Christian woman who lives in the Midwest, I tend to keep my reading pretty tame, or at least I always did prior to last year. I didn't mind reading romance novels because I love reading about love, and I didn't mind reading romance novels that had sex scenes in them because that comes with reading a romance novel. But I was always very tame about, like, I don't want the sex to be the plot of the story. I want it to be an addition to the story, but not the plot. And I want the things happening sexually in the book to not be as much of a focus. Well, then I got into reading the mafia romance, and definitely sex is a big part of the plot because of the purity culture you tend to see in this mafia world that people tend to create. There's also kidnapping and murder and some things that are a little, you know, not accepted in polite society because it's the mafia world. And I accepted those as being part of the mafia and just kind of kept reading the books. And then I started reading books where suddenly the plot was sex, and that was very heavily part of what the characters were talking about and doing. And then I started reading towards the middle of the year books where it got a little kinky and suddenly it was like BDSM in the books. And then I started reading books where it became being like non-consent, consent type things, very taboo things that normally would not be something I would even pick up. And I just started noticing that like the content of my books shifted from romance heavy to very like almost erotica, dark romance heavy. And that actually messed with me mentally a little bit because some of these plots were pretty dark. I mean, you have to think you've got kidnapping, you've got murder, you've got women who are being sexually assaulted and abused, and human trafficking, and, you know, all kinds of things that exist in some of these dark romances I read towards the end of the year. And I'm like, I would actually read a book and I would leave the book going like, man, I'm kind of depressed and not in a very good mood because I don't know what I just read just totally took my, wow, it got really bright there. Hello, sun's out. Sun's out, guys. Anyway, my mental health started to be affected by what I was reading, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing. So one of my things I would like to change this year is how I'm approaching what I'm reading. I still love a good mafia romance, and I will probably read everything that some of my favorite mafia authors released because I love them so much. But I want to be more careful about the amount of dark romance I read, how often I read it, and I also want to keep a better track of my mental health in the sense that if I'm reading a lot of really dark books, I don't want to do it in a row. And I also need to quit reading this erotica stuff because I don't feel comfortable reading it. I actually reached a point last year where I was like, I really hope no one I know watches my recap of what I read for the month because they're going to be like, what are you reading? Because my pastor's going to have me like in his office praying for me because apparently I'm reading all these really books that my church would frown upon for sure. And I just felt very convicted that like I'm allowing myself to kind of go down a road with my reading that I don't want to go. Now, if you're not a Christian, you're going to be like, I don't know what you're worried about. And that's fine. But just for my mental health and kind of what I'm wanting to accomplish on my channel and on my reading, I really think I need to switch it up a little more. So here are some of the changes I would like to make. First of all, I want to be very careful to steer clear from this erotica road that I went on the end of the last year because it started being more like the plot was the sex. And that's not really, I mean, if that's what, I'm not going to look, I ain't going to knock you. If you like that is, you read what you want to read. It's a free country, whatever, read what you want to read. I don't care. But I personally like more plot to my books. So that's why I have so many like 2 and 3 star reads last year. Cause like, there's no story here. It's all people banging. And I was like, well, that's the book you're reading. You're reading a book where that is the plot. So that's why you don't like it, because it doesn't have the plot you want. So first of all, I want to get away from that. I want to get back to where the plot is the plot and the sex is in addition to the plot, which is why I love Cora Riley's mafia books, because they're plot and then that's in addition to the plot. And then I also think that I got so into this mafia world that I kind of didn't read anything else but mafia mostly last year. There are so many other books I need to get into. I have several historical romances that are just sitting on my TBR. I've got several other that are just like contemporaries that are sitting on my TBR. And I want to start reading more Christian and historical fiction again because I really kind of got burnt out by like boring plots. But there's a lot of really, really good books that have came out in the last year that I just haven't read at all because I've been on this mafia kick. So I think for me, I want to try to vary my tastes a little more, read more of a variety of books, to be more open to reading a book that I necessarily wouldn't have looked at last year, and mix it up. So I want my recaps at the end of the month or my mid-month wrap-ups and all that stuff to be more of a mixture. Instead of Mary read 20 mafia books for the month of whatever, I want it to be that I read historical, I read contemporary, I read historical fiction, I read a Christian romance, I read a mafia romance. I want it to be like more varied tastes. I think that my channel can get a little boring of while I'm reading is mafia. So that's the big change. So that's why I'm announcing this to you guys, kind of why I'm changing what I'm doing. I took like a couple months off here, which I alluded to in my last video. I just needed to step away and take a break. And I'm glad that I did that. And I want to just like regroup and restart. So for the month of February, I read like 5 books. And that was really where this came from, because I'm going to do my February wrap up here in my next video, probably up tomorrow. And I have to be honest with you, a couple of the books I read were really like heavy taboo. And you'll see it tomorrow. But to put this in perspective, it was like a grown man falling in love with his best friend's daughter, who's like 20 something years younger than him. And it's consent type romance. And I was like, I wouldn't have even picked this book up a year ago. It would have 100% been like my absolutely will never read this list. And yet I read it. And I'm like, and I didn't like it. And that was when I kind of was like, why am I even reading this? Like, I can read the reviews on Amazon and I can read the description of the book. And I can tell you that immediately the adult in me who's looking at this description is going, ooh, that's a little taboo for me. So why did I read it? Like, if you feel that in your gut when you pick the book up, why are you reading it? I just ignored all the trigger warnings and just went on in like an idiot. And now I'm just like, well, that was stupid because you didn't like the book. And you didn't like the book because you knew that. You knew it when you picked it up. You weren't going to like the book. So why am I reading this just because this is a book people are talking about? Like, read it because you want to read it. It's not a competition. And that was what triggered me. So tomorrow you will hear about the 5 books and the 1 book I DNF'd for February. And that's what stemmed all of this. So I just kind of like took a break from reading and I was like, I'm done. I've been watching everybody else's channel. I've been concentrating on me and my sister's podcast is coming back up at the end of this month, things like that. And I'm like, I'm just stepping away, regrouping, and I'm going to explain it to you guys. So that's my thoughts. Hope y'all are doing well. I will do my February wrap up tomorrow. And again, this channel really isn't changing. It's just what I'm reading will change. So if you come to my channel for mostly Mafia recommendations, you still might get some, but it's not going to be to the amount that I had last year. Okay, that's all I got. I love y'all. I will see you in the next one. And then next week, normal video content. Okay, guys, bye.